Community organizers in Detroit are getting some help in their efforts to revitalize their neighborhoods. The Knight Foundation and the Fisher Foundation are contributing $250,000 to support training and professional development for these local leaders. Joining me now is Camilla Henderson of the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, which administers the funds, Meredith Freeman from the Fisher Foundation, and Espy Thomas, one of the grant recipients. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you.
Of course, this is what we're talking about all across the city right now, is neighborhood revitalization and what it actually means, making it meaningful to the people who actually live in the city. I imagine that this grant is focused on making sure that we're doing that.
Absolutely. So the Community Foundation was approached by the Fisher Foundation to invest in a fund focusing on capacity building. And this is really an opportunity for the Community Foundation to use its resources and expertise to support Fisher's mission to really help the people who are in Brightmoor do the work that they're already doing well even better.
Yeah. Brightmoor is, of course, a place that has gone through a really tough time, but when you go there now, you really do see the effect of organizing, of funding, of planning to try to turn a space around.
Absolutely, and so the funding that has brought Brightmoor to this point has been focused mostly on organizational development and programs. What we want to do was support leadership development and the leaders within organizations and within communities and neighborhoods. So not just executive directors, but Black Club captains who are doing amazing work and supporting them and giving them an opportunity to invest in themselves.
Yeah, I find that that's one of the toughest things you have in the city right now is that leadership, that people understanding. It's not that they don't want to, it's not that they don't have a vision for where they live, it's that knowing how to build the infrastructure even to turn that around is tough, and there isn't a lot of knowledge sort of out there right now.
We find, Stephen, that in administering both of these programs for Knight and Fisher, that's absolutely true. The nonprofit organizations and the individual neighborhood leaders are already doing really strong work, really important, impactful work in Brightmoor, and they just don't have the space in their budgets to set aside money, to set aside time for professional development. They're really strapped for cash trying to serve their community.
Right.
So this funding that Fisher's providing is the perfect opportunity for them to say, oh, so now here's a chance for us to turn inward, focus on ourselves, and this is a great example. Espy is the person.
Yeah.
Doing
So Espy, talk about your grant, talk about your projects.
Right. So I founded a group called Good Grief Detroit, which is where do Black women go to grieve, and the work is so important because there's a huge gap between grief services that are available maybe in the suburbs and nothing that's really available close to home for people to be able to get somewhere that's a local hub in the neighborhood and just come in and feel safe and get grief services. So we provide that. For the last year we've been doing that work, and to have an organization pour into you when you pour out so much every day, every time you have a group or whatever your work is, to actually build you up as an individual and not just give to your group, so that I'm better personally as a group leader and a group facilitator, so I can be better to my members. So it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really tough subject to take on
huge,
in and of
heavy,
itself.
yes.
Talk about what that's been like and what some of the challenges have been just dealing with the subject matter.
Right, most definitely. So it's heavy and it is very tough. I work with Patrice Lucas from Coffee with a Counselor and Indigo Transitions, who is my mental health professional. So with her assistance, it's been really great to work to bridge those gaps. But now that I do have the funding for a grant, I can go and get certified in grief recovery so that I can also be a better asset to her and our members. Yeah. So I just love the fact to be able to work with women of color who need that assistance, who have been begging for that assistance, and it's nice that it's available in the in the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about the neighborhood, how it's changed, what direction it seems to be.
It's going
headed
up.
from your...
It's always going up. So it's a beautiful place to be. We have a business there as well, so we've been over there for 30 years.
Very popular business, by the way,
yes,
right?
30 years, yes. And so it's like this little art hub situation going on. It is a really nice place to be, and it's good to be in a Detroit neighborhood. Everything that's beautiful does not always happen downtown.
Right.
There's beautiful things
Just
in the
out in the neighborhoods.
Yes.
The big question with these kind of things always is scalability. I think the big long-term question: can you do this somewhere else? Talk about the potential for that here.
Sure. So I think the way the Community Foundation is thinking about this is we really follow Fisher's lead. And so where Fisher is saying right now, the focus is Brightmoor.
Brightmoor.
And later, other foundations might follow suit and say, we agree, capacity building is an absolutely critical issue, and we want to make sure we're offering those resources for grant partners that
Yeah.
we're already funding in other spaces. And so I could absolutely see it expanding. And it just is the commitment of foundations to say we need to lift this work up.
Talk about why Brightmoor and maybe why not other places later.
Well, the Fisher Foundation has been working in Brightmoor for the last 10 years in a very, very concentrated way as our place-based area. And so working with grant partners in the community, we've heard over the years how much this kind of assistance and this kind of support really is needed.
Yeah.
And we did model it off the Knight Foundation and their program, where they're working with community economic development organizations around the city doing that kind of leadership development. But we really wanted to make sure that resident leaders had access to the same types of opportunities, and really excited about the proposals that we got, because folks were asking for opportunities to go to the Harvard Kennedy School and to go for grief recovery training, also for mediation service training. I mean, we really let them tell us what they needed and then supported them in that.
All right. Great work, and thank you all for being here.
Great.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Absolutely.